Every time there is a major disruption, people rush to buy the same things. Bottled water, canned food, toilet paper. We saw it during COVID, during hurricanes, and right now with the Iran-USA conflict directly threatening the Strait of Hormuz, and military analysts warning that even a partial closure could cut 20% of global oil supply overnight. We are watching it begin again. But here is what most people miss. The panic buying is not what creates real shortages. What creates real shortages is what happens after, when the government steps in and decides who gets what and on what schedule. That is the part nobody talks about until it is too late. It has happened here in the United States more than once, and the legal framework to do it again has never gone away. I want to walk through the 7 everyday items that historically get restricted first. Not survival gear. Everyday things you use this morning without thinking twice. For each one, I will explain why it gets targeted, what restriction looks like in practice, and what you can quietly do right now so you are not standing in line later. The first item is fuel: gasoline, diesel, propane, heating oil. If you want to understand how fast fuel goes from something you barely think about to something that controls your entire day, look at what a conflict involving Iran means for global energy. Iran controls the northern shore of the Strait of Hormuz, and roughly 20% of the world's traded oil passes through that choke point every day. Any military escalation threatening that passage triggers a cascade touching every country that depends on Middle Eastern crude. The 1973 oil crisis produced gasoline shortages across America within weeks. Gas stations flew colored flags. Green meant open, yellow meant limited, red meant dry. The federal government printed nearly 5 billion gasoline rationing coupons, stockpiled and ready to distribute nationwide. They never used them, but they were printed. That tells you how close we came. During World War II, gasoline was rationed for years. Citizens had to certify to a local board that they had genuine need and did not own more than 5 tires. Voluntary conservation was tried first. Mandatory rationing replaced it within months. The cascade effect is what most people underestimate. Everything that arrives by truck slows down or stops. Keep your vehicle above half a tank as a daily habit. If you use propane or have a generator, maintain a reasonable rotating reserve. Fuel is not just one item, it is the item that moves all the other items. The second item is shelf-stable food, and not freeze-dried camping meals or military MREs. Sugar, rice, flour, cooking oil, dried beans, canned vegetables, the boring, unglamorous staples that actually keep families fed. During World War II, sugar was the very first food item rationed in the United States. April 1942, just months after Pearl Harbor. The government halted all sugar sales for a week, then limited every person to 1 pound every 2 weeks. By 1943, the rationed food list had grown to over 21 categories, including meat, cheese, butter, canned milk, dried fruits, and cooking fats. Every citizen carried ration books. During COVID, we watched a smaller version of the same system, functionally identical despite no government mandate. Kroger limited certain products to 2 per customer. The supply chain experts kept saying the food supply was intact. And technically they were right. The food existed. The distribution system could not move it from warehouses to shelves fast enough when buying patterns changed overnight. The average grocery store carries roughly 3 days of inventory. When demand spikes dramatically, the whole system buckles. If you have been putting off building a food reserve, I put together a free guide called the $50 Food Plan. It walks through how to build a 90-day food supply on a tight budget with a specific shopping list and storage strategies for small spaces. Link is in the description. The people who adapt fastest in food disruptions already know how to cook from basic staples: rice, beans, flour, oil, salt. Those 5 keep you fed when shelves look like they did in March 2020. The third item is over-the-counter medication. This one flies under the radar because most people do not realize how restricted medication already is. Right now, today, you cannot buy a box of pseudoephedrine without presenting a photo ID and having your purchase logged in a federal database. Pharmacies must maintain those records for 2 years, and the system is designed to prevent pharmacy hopping. The mechanism exists. The government has already proven it can restrict a common cold medicine, track purchases across state lines, and enforce it criminally. During COVID, stores limited Tylenol and ibuprofen to 1 or 2 bottles per customer. The government did not need to step in because stores did the restricting themselves. Extend that logic to antibiotics, inhalers, blood pressure medication, and antidiarrheal medicine, which sounds trivial until you are dealing with contaminated water. Build a quiet rotating medicine cabinet covering both acetaminophen and ibuprofen, antidiarrheal medication, antihistamines, and electrolyte powder. If anyone depends on prescription medication, many insurance plans allow early fills each cycle. Over several months, that builds to 2 or 3 extra weeks of supply. That is responsible management, not hoarding. The fourth item is physical cash. In 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, making it a federal crime to hold more than a small amount of gold. Citizens were ordered to surrender their gold at a fixed government price. The penalty was up to $10,000 or 10 years in prison. Within months, the government raised the official gold price, devaluing every dollar citizens had received by about 40% overnight. During the 2015 Greek debt crisis, ATM withdrawals were capped at 60 euros per day, and banks were closed for 3 weeks. In Cyprus in 2013, deposits above 100,000 euros were partially seized permanently. These are modern European democracies. You do not even need a financial crisis for cash access to fail. A regional power outage disables ATMs. A cyber attack on banking infrastructure, which multiple U.S. agencies have flagged as a likely tool in Iran conflict escalation, does the same on a far larger scale. Keep physical cash at home, not your savings, enough to cover 2 to 4 weeks of essentials in small bills. Cash does not need a network or permission from a bank. That $50 food plan guide also covers storage strategies for apartments. Over 21,000 people have grabbed it, link in the description. The fifth item is cleaning and sanitation supplies. We all watched this play out in 2020, and most people still do not keep extras on hand. Disinfecting wipes were among the first products to disappear and among the very last to return. Clorox could not meet demand for months. Retailers imposed purchase limits on bleach, rubbing alcohol, hand sanitizer, and hydrogen peroxide. The demand spike was so sudden that manufacturers had to restructure production lines, and it still took close to a year for supply to stabilize. During World War II, ordinary bar soap was rationed because the fats used to produce it were needed for the war effort. In any crisis involving disease or compromised sanitation infrastructure, your ability to disinfect and maintain basic hygiene prevents a secondary health emergency from compounding the original one. A gallon of unscented household bleach costs a couple of dollars and is arguably the most versatile emergency supply you can own. It purifies water at roughly 8 drops per gallon. It disinfects surfaces and sanitizes laundry when hot water is unavailable. Build this up gradually. A gallon of bleach every couple of months, a bottle of rubbing alcohol, extra bar soap, hand sanitizer. None of it is expensive. When the next panic wave rolls through, you will already have what you need. The sixth item is batteries and portable power. When fuel gets restricted, electricity restrictions usually follow. During the 1973 oil crisis, Oregon banned commercial lighting entirely. Other states asked citizens to skip holiday decorations to conserve energy. Rolling blackouts are standard procedure during extended energy shortages. When power outages hit, the items that vanish from stores are not dramatic. Flashlights, batteries, portable phone chargers, candles, battery-powered radios. When the power has been out for 3 days and you cannot charge your phone or light your home, these become the most important things you own. When the power is out, information becomes the scarcest resource. You cannot check road conditions, find out if stores are open, or reach your family. A charged phone and a battery-powered radio are not comfort items. They are how you make decisions. The fix is cheap, common batteries in the sizes you use, a battery-powered or hand-crank emergency radio for about $20, a couple of quality flashlights, and a portable phone charger rotated into regular use monthly. The best prep is the one you actually do, not the one you plan to get around to next month. The seventh and final item is not something you buy at a store, but it is the everyday freedom that gets restricted fastest and shapes access to everything else. That is your freedom of movement and communication. During COVID, governments at every level imposed curfews, travel restrictions, and stay-at-home orders almost overnight. Essential workers carried documentation proving they were authorized to travel. Whether those measures were justified is not the point. The point is they happened with remarkable speed and demonstrated exactly how quickly freedom of movement can be curtailed under emergency authority. During World War II, coastal blackouts were enforced along both seaboards. During the 1970s fuel crisis, the national speed limit was reduced to 55 miles per hour as a mandatory conservation measure. The pattern is consistent. When resources get scarce, the first institutional response is to limit how people move. Have a family communication plan that does not require cell phones. Agree on a physical meeting point. Know multiple roads to the places that matter. Maintain physical copies of important documents, critical phone numbers, and local maps. When technology fails, a paper backup turns a crisis into a manageable inconvenience. Step back and look at all 7 together, and the pattern becomes clear. Every restriction follows the same arc: a supply disruption, real or perceived, a wave of panic buying that amplifies the shortage, then government intervention, purchase limits, rationing, price controls, movement restrictions. And by the time those restrictions are in place, the preparation window is closed. You either have what you need or you are standing in line. The people who navigate these moments well are not the ones with underground bunkers and 10 years of freeze-dried food. They are the people who quietly, gradually, consistently built a small buffer. A full tank of gas, a few weeks of food, a stocked medicine cabinet, cash in the house, cleaning supplies under the sink, batteries in the drawer. When rationing happens, black markets follow. It happened during World War II, during the 1970s, during COVID with price gouging on hand sanitizer and N95 masks. The people who prepared in advance are insulated from the worst of those price spikes and the desperation that drives people into bad decisions. Having a 2-week buffer is not about surviving the apocalypse. It is about not being the person paying 4 times the normal price from someone in a parking lot. Preparedness is not about fear. It is about the peace that comes from knowing you have taken care of the basics. You already know which of these 7 areas is your weakest. Trust that instinct and start there. Grab the free $50 food plan guide in the description. If this was useful, subscribing helps more people find these videos. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 7 you are going to focus on first. I read every single one. Stay calm, stay steady, and keep building.